14,000 miles. Any changes, John, since the last review? No. And so if you really want to know how reliable a Honda is, I'm going to put a link to Scott's Instagram page. He has 25,000 miles on his. And I believe, if I remember right, he like tore the engine apart because you're supposed to, but then didn't actually have to change anything. Don't forget, these are supposed to get a rebuild at 18,000 miles. Maybe by the end of this year we'll have to do a rebuild, or maybe we'll do a rebuild just because, I don't know. 14,000 miles. All I do is I change the oil. I use Motul, either the 300 racing oil or their 7000 series 4-stroke oil. I've used AMSOIL in it as well, and it seems to eat whatever. It doesn't burn any oil. I check the spark plug every time I go in to check the valves, and it always looks fine. I did replace it just because it was supposed to be replaced. So I did. I don't think I needed to. And yeah, other than that, everything's pretty much original. I did change the front brake pads. Those did get worn out. I come from a road racing background, so I'm pretty heavy on the front brake. I can't use the rear brake to save my life. If I had to save my life, I'd die. So if you are tuning in to look for an honest review of the bike, I would recommend go back and watch the 10,000 mile review. It's exactly the same. The only new parts from that, I think, is the Rebel X rally fairing. And let's talk about that. First off, since this is an adventure build for the 450, it's a rally build. The 450 as a lightweight or even an ultra lightweight bike is really starting to catch on, and that's great. I wish the manufacturers would come along for the ride with the rest of us. Right? The Honda's CRF450L Rally looks really interesting. It's 300 plus pounds for a 300 bike, but for those of you out there who don't like changing your oil, right, it's got 3,000 mile oil changes, so that's a thing. It's kind of heavy. I'm sure the suspension is good, but it's not going to be R good, 450R race bike good. But it's also, you know, $3 grand less, so you get what you pay for. In the meantime, that leaves the rest of us to build our own. And really the only thing you need is something to cut the wind when you're on the highway so it's not blasting you all the time, and a place to put your GPS and your electronics. And other than that, I mean, the way I had it before worked just fine. This provides a ton, a specific type of ton, more wind protection than that other windshield did. And this one actually throws it up high enough that when I'm standing up on the pegs on the bike, it throws the wind. I still feel it, but I don't feel it nearly as much. So the windshield on this thing is really, really good. The nav tower as it sits there, I mean, I can get all my electronics on it, and that worked just fine. One of the things I had to deal with was my turn signals, right? They recommend you get those tiny little European jobs, and American, oh, that must have big. Anyway, so I went with the Zeta LEDs. Now, if you get the Zeta LEDs, you're probably going to have to get the wrong button. If you go with the Zeta LED turn signals, you're probably going to have to get the 12 o'clock Labs LED turn signal what's it saying. A lot of people are having problems just getting an LED to just hook right into this, so be aware of that. You're probably going to have to spend a couple more bucks. So those are my turn signals, right? They're unobtrusive, they're out of the way, they work great. I did add this little cover I added this little cover to cover up all the wires and to help keep the throttle cables and everything kind of pushed out of the way. And then I ended up putting stickers on it because apparently John likes stickers. So this is just made out of Kydex, and it's just bent and then attached kind of down here on the triple tree with a piece of aluminum. Again, that's just for pretty, and it wraps all the way underneath, so if something should go haywire and a wire falls off or comes out of its little holder on the inside, this bottom piece will catch it. Now looking at the cockpit, you can see here's the nav tower, and right now I've got my phone on it, but there's a couple spots where you can add ball ram mounts or ram ball mounts, right? You can put one here, one here. Usually my tablet sits here, my cheapy Costco $100 Tab A Samsung tablet, and right now I've got the phone on there. But you can put whatever up here. And then for extra switches, right, I made my own little switch panel. The only one that actually is hooked up to anything is this one. This is on my grip heaters. And they're pretty heavy duty switches. They're supposed to be waterproof. I have an extra little power outlet that goes to my air pump when I'm carrying that with me. And then on the other side I have a little USB outlet, or two of them actually. And it's supposed to, again, that's supposed to be waterproof. And all this little holder I made myself, that was all kind of custom built. And that's it. So far I am just absolutely super happy with it. I have no complaints. Now, some of all y'all are going to complain because when you're standing up on it, you can't see your front wheel. So it's taken your dirt bike where you can just look straight down to your front wheel right here, and it's added a fairing like a T7 or like any other adventure bike for that matter, or sport bike, and you can no longer see your front wheel. Now, I don't know, is not being able to see your front wheel on a Tenere 7 bad? What about a sport bike? What about those GP guys, right? You think they can see their front wheel? No. So unless you're doing some kind of hard enduro where you have to put your front wheel just right every time, to me it's not a thing. And it forces you to look out in front of you where you should be looking anyways. But again, it does take the bike away from the dirt side just a little bit more. That's the only downside I can come up with. It only weighs 11 pounds, so it's not that heavy. And actually, because I don't weigh that much, that extra weight and the extra weight in the gas tank kind of plushes out the front end a little bit. Yeah, there you go. 14,000 miles on my 450 rally bike now. Ooh, I can call it a rally. So if you guys have questions, and I know you do, hit me up down below. And if you haven't noticed, everything that's on the bike for each video is listed under each video. So if you're like, I wonder what kind of Farkle he's got hanging off his bike, everything is there, the whole list. I also list what I'm wearing, but that can change from time to time. Yeah, I got nothing. That's it. Thank you guys for watching. I'm gonna go ride around in the sand dunes and pretend I'm in DeCal.